Also, Tom, if you're in the room, somebody's supposed to make it.
Hey, Dr. Reckham. This way. All right, you.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good.
My name's Eric Parker. You may know me from the cover of your magazine. So I ran for Jacksonville City Council and I didn't win, but I did get 34.9% over 53,000 votes. I joined the Libertarian Party in 2020 and I decided to get active and let's make change, right? And that's what we're here to do. We can't do that without your dollars. So right now I have this Burlock and Barrel American whiskey small distiller select bottle of whiskey. This is local here to Jacksonville, Florida. My friends Tub Rohrbaugh and Melissa Rohrbaugh picked this up for me yesterday, right? Was that yesterday? And it's signed by the master distiller here in Jacksonville. Other than that, I don't know much. Melissa, if you want to come up and talk about this bottle of whiskey, you can, but you don't have to.
I want to know about the other bottle.
The other bottle, that's next. Let's get started with this one. All right. I'm going to start this off at $50, okay? This is signed by the master distiller. This is local to Jacksonville. This is a hand. $50. We got 55. Anyone? We got 55 in the back. All right. Can I get a... Well, I saw him first.
He said 60.
You got 60?
No, he said 60.
You got 60. You got 65? He's got 65. Any 70? 70? I just went off a number. You raised your hand. We got $70 so far. Can I get 75? Come on. This is local to Jacksonville. You're not going to get a signed bottle from anywhere, either here or if you go to the distiller in Jacksonville yourself and hang out with him for an hour. $100. We got $100. Can I get $105? $105 for this hand select.
Charles, 105.
Where's Charles? Charles, stand up, please. Well, you're all right, 105. We got 105.
Lisa, 110.
110, 110. We got 110 back in the back. Can I get 115? Come on, guys. You're not going to get this anywhere else but here in Jacksonville. You're here tonight, and I, no offense to... how about this? I'll sign your magazine for, where are we at? 110? $110. We're at 105. Does anyone want to put 110 on this bottle? 125. We got 125. Does anyone want to outbid 125? That's a good number, but I think we could do 130. 150. We got $150. Remember, this isn't just for this whiskey. This goes to the Libertarian Party of Florida. This helped them run events like this.
Don't let your chair buy that. Don't let him do it.
Don't let your chair spend $150 on this bottle of whiskey. Can we get 155? Somebody in the crowd, $155. Someone from Broward County. No? I don't. How about this? Anyone here from Miami-Dade? Anyone? I'm not gonna sell alcohol to a minor, no matter. I don't know where the ATF is at in this room, but I'm not gonna do that. Can we get 155 for this bottle so it doesn't end up going to the chair of this party? 155. $155. Anyone in the room? All right, you're gonna make Mr. Chair go for this bottle of whiskey. Going once, going twice, sold. Thank you.
Looking out, man.
Tub right here. All right. Well, how about this? We'll save the best for last. We'll do it right after the conclusion of the debate. We got a bottle of Happy Van Winkle.
What year?
12. So we'll do this after the debate, so stick around. Stick around after the debate.
That's a bottle of 12-year aged Pappy Von Winkle. You need to be on a wait list to get that whiskey. It's very delicious. You should 100% donate your money for that. Some people would pay $1,500 for that bottle of whiskey.
They told us at the distillery that if we let it go for less than 2,500, we're crazy. They said it is so rare. The distillery guy wanted to get it published.
Is this Matt's seat?
Yes.
At $300 right here.
Sounds good. My father used to love the song "Whiskey, Whiskey, Whiskey Makes You Feel So Frisky." And you people are obviously quite frisky and quite ready for a debate. Sorry. I was imported from New York City because I've been running this whole forum and since I started it in September of 2016. I've done 9 debates myself, but moderated 80. And I will say one thing, that in many cases, I was pulling for one side or the other. And in no case, in none of those 80 cases, could anybody tell which side I might be pulling for, because I learned the art of neutral moderating of debates, giving everybody a fair chance and showing no bias on my part for any of the debaters. The only daunting thing for me is that I always do 1 versus 1 debates, just 2 people debating. The idea of 6 people debating is 3 times greater than I've ever done before. I found it extremely daunting. I recently listened to a 6-person debate, and much of it involved 4 or 5 people shouting at once. And that usually doesn't make for a very productive debate. I've therefore decided that there's only one way to go about this, and that's to allocate time proportionately, not a whole lot of time to each of the 6 debaters, because I don't want to keep you drunken whiskey drinkers past midnight. You need to sleep it off. So therefore, what we need to do is have something very structured, and I have my friend in front flashing 1 minute and 30-second signs, because we're going to proceed as follows. Each of the debaters, in reverse alphabetical order, is going to have 2 minutes to say why he, apparently everybody up here is a he, at least so far as I can observe, he will give a 2-minute statement to the effect of why you should vote for him. On the next round, and the next series of rounds, I will start with one of the debaters, and that debater will be asked to generate some heat, to attack politely and in a civil fashion the credentials of the other 5 in relation to himself. And each of those 5, we're going to get a chance to respond. Then we'll go to a next person who will be on the attack. We will generate heat and light, of course, and although we will do it in a totally civil fashion, but there will be a somewhat heated exchange this evening, somewhat different from the sort of debate you normally get when 6 people are simply arguing for themselves in terms of their ability to serve as president. So I'm going to start in reverse alphabetical order, and I'm reading it here. Reverse alphabetical order by last name means Joshua Smith is first. 2 minutes, Joshua, to tell us what's good about you to be president of the United States from the Libertarian Party. Start.
Thank you so much, Gene, first of all, for being here. Gene is one of the greatest debate moderators in the entire country today. Round of applause for Gene. Hello, Libertarian Party of Florida. My name is Joshua Smith. For you guys who don't know who I am, I have missed 2 Libertarian Party of Florida conventions since 2018. I love the state. Your state is amazing. It's warm, coming from Des Moines, Iowa, where it was -16, to a state that is 50. I'm very happy. Thank you so much. For those of you who don't know me, I was the at-large representative on the Libertarian National Committee for 2 terms. Most recently elected to be the vice chair of the Libertarian Party. Of course, I resigned. Most people in the room probably know that. I'm an anti-war vet. I joined the military right after 9/11. I decided I was going to go and protect my family and my friends from the evil terrorists that attacked us, and found myself at war in Iraq almost immediately. And I remember thinking to myself, why are we at war with Iraq, of all places? Is this mic? It's just way hot, right? 1 minute, okay. Anyways, I'm a blue-collar, working-class guy. I'm a critical facilities engineer. I'm raising 7 children, and I'm not like my counterparts up here. I'm not a teacher. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a doctor. I'm not an ex-cop. I'm a father of 7 who's tired of the federal government imposing its will on me. This campaign is going to put a strong emphasis on ending the wars, ending the Fed, returning a focus back on the strong, independent families, protecting children from the national mental health leeches, removing all restrictions to self-defense, and sending as many alphabet agencies to the dustbin of history as absolutely possible. I think when it comes to the culture war, it's really important that we fight the culture war, because politics is downwind of culture. And I think that I have had the best opportunity to do that. So I would appreciate your vote. Thank you, guys.
You went 5 seconds over, Joshua, but I'll forgive you for that. The next debater gets his 2 minutes is Michael Rechtenwald. Take it away, Michael.
Hello, I'm Michael Rechtenwald, and I'm running to preserve and expand liberty in this country, to defend and expand what's left of the free market, and to defend property rights. I have great respect for all of my opponents here, and we're all friends. But I think that I'm the only candidate that has shown through my writing, presentations, and interviews a grasp of the dire economic, political, and social issues facing us today. While the principles of libertarianism are evergreen, we must face the realities that beset us. We are now facing the prospects of a globalist corporatist state agenda and the reality of a manufactured chaos and the crippling economic and social effects of the war economy. Manufactured chaos is when the state tyrannically or oppressively regulates citizens' lives, yet is either unable or unwilling to enforce the fundamental protective laws. The state allows rampant criminality to terrorize innocent citizens while taking away their right of self-defense. The globalism and corporatism represent the simultaneous expansion of statism and the erosion of local control, including economic coercion and the infringements of freedom. It begins with the erosion of nations and continues with the erosion of local communities. Javier Milei finds the Great Reset globalist stakeholder capitalism so troubling that he recently gave a long, eloquent speech to the World Economic Forum to combat it. The Libertarian Party needs a candidate who understands the threat of this agenda while holding to libertarian principles. Decentralization isn't merely a quaint strategy. It is necessary if we are to have the slightest chance for liberty. We must decentralize, not only to defeat the federal government, but also global governance. The more decentralized
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael. Sorry, but I have to interrupt in mid-sentence. Next up is Chase Oliver. 2 minutes for you, Chase. Take it away.
Hey, hello, Libertarian Party of Florida. My name is Chase Oliver. I haven't met you yet, but truth is I've met a lot of you as I've traveled through the state. This is my 3rd time in Duval County alone this year, but I've traveled up and down Florida, as well as this being, I think, the 3rd or 4th Libertarian Party of Florida convention I've been at. I want to be a candidate for the Libertarian Party because I believe we have to have a viable alternative to the broken 2-party system that exists, and we need to give a place for voters to feel welcome to come into our philosophy and understand the principles of liberty. I have been a candidate who last year I got to run for U.S. Senate just north of us here in Georgia, and I got to force a runoff in the most expensive U.S. Senate race in history. I made a $250 million duopoly race, paused its tracks with less than $20,000. I can do a lot with very little, and that's exactly what we have to do when we're fighting uphill against the two-party system. I know how to get attention, and I can say right now the metrics are proving this campaign as I've traveled this year. I have the largest numbers of donors. I have the most numbers of donors from all across the country. I have the largest number of volunteers. We're nearing 300 volunteers across the country. I have gotten the most attention. I've done things like attended the Iowa State Fair and spoken there as the first candidate outside of the two-party to do that. We want to have the energy and enthusiasm to put ourselves on the same stage as the two-party system, and I will work tirelessly across that. That we need to have a 50-state candidate that does that, that sits in our principles, and that can make people feel welcome to run outside the two-party system. Fight things like the warfare state across the country, the immigration crisis at our border that's actually caused by government, not by immigrants, and so many other issues where the answer is freedom, but we have to speak that message loud and clear to people and attract new voters, particularly the Gen Z voters, the next generation that will help this party grow and free up this world. That's the world I'm fighting for me, my nephews and nieces, and for all of us out there. A place that is more free, where you can live as your authentic self in peace. So long as you do it in peace, the government stays out of your life. It's your life, your business, your body. If you like this, go to votechaseoliver.com, join the campaign, and you can go to fairandequal.org right now and freeandequal.org right now and help me get on stage with RFK. We're leading the poll right there. We're beating RFK to poll, and you can do that as well. It's on the blockchain. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chase. Next up, 2 minutes for Lars Mapstead. Take it away, Lars.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Florida, for having me tonight. I'm Lars Mapstead, and I'm running to unrig the system. We have a problem in America today, and that is the Libertarian Party cannot break through the duopoly's rigged system. They have rigged our ballot access. They have rigged the entire game against us. Are you guys as pissed off as I am at the system? Are you ready to do something about it?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The average person in America is pissed off right now. They're angry at the system. They're angry at the duopoly, and they're starting to see through the mess that is our republic and our election system. Look, our economy is a freaking joke, okay? The Federal Reserve has stolen $34 trillion out of the American people's pockets, and I'm fed up with it. And it's time to end the Fed and stop the theft of the money out of your pocket. The IRS has come and attacked me many times. I've been audited and sued by the IRS. I've fought them and won. No one should have to put up with that crap in their life. No one should be made a criminal for not filling out a piece of paper or not having a piece of paper on them. Our healthcare system, a complete joke. You know, I have been going to the doctor, my insurance is going up and up and up while the quality of care seems to go down. It takes forever to see a doctor. They don't seem to care anymore. They care more about the pharmaceutical companies and the insurance companies than they do their damn patients, and I'm tired of it. We're ready to unrig the system. You guys have the power to unrig the system, and I hope you'll join me in that. Our criminal justice system, a complete joke. The multi-tier justice, based on how much money you have or who you're connected to, your political connections. We need to end that. We need fairness and justice in America, because when we don't have a fair and just system, people get pissed off. They feel like the rules don't matter, and they start violating the rules themselves, because when we don't have the rule of law, things start falling apart. I want to end the failed federal failed war on drugs that we've been going after for 50 years, and we have more people doing drugs than ever before. I'm going to end that at the federal level. You know, there's a whole bunch of policy that I have. Thank you. I guess I'm done.
Mike to Matt.
They're ruthless with the timing tonight.
Mike to Matt, take it away, Mike.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Look, this election is not going to be about small things. It's not going to be about what the age ought to be for full retirement from Social Security. It's not going to be about what the timetable should be for exiting a negotiated settlement in Ukraine. It's not going to be about what should be on your reading list at the elementary school in Florida or any place else. It's going to be about finally standing up once and for all and squaring with the American people, about the fact that the simple dignity of being able to raise your children the way that you see fit was taken from you a long time ago. For you to get that back, you're going to have to start fighting hard and fighting now. It's going to be about the fact that money is being taken from you and from your neighbors, in many cases from people around the United States who can least afford it. It's being used to project military hegemony around the world in a way that violates your values and your principles, that causes death and destruction on the order of millions of lives in your name and for no damn good reason. This election is going to be about you. It's going to be about your values. It's going to be about your family. It's going to be about your aspirations for the people that you love. It's going to be about whether it's your ethics and your principles that guide the decisions that affect the lives of those people, or whether we are going to continue to cede authority to a government that's run by a ruling class that doesn't give a damn about your values.
Thank you, Mike. Jacob Hornberger, 2 minutes. Take it away, Jake.
Schlitzbeer once pointed out that we're only given one life to live, and so we ought to live it with gusto. And I'm saying that in this year's presidential race, that's what we ought to do. We ought to run a presidential campaign that is totally different from every campaign that this party's run for the past 25 years. And that is a campaign that is based 100% on true, genuine libertarian principles. Open the borders. Abolish Social Security and Medicare immediately. Separate school and state, health care in the state, money in the state, and the other founding principles of this party. Now, I'm not naive. I know that there is a considerable number of people in this party that want to run the standard reform-oriented campaign that has come to characterize this party. But there's a problem with that kind of campaign. It cannot garner votes. We know this. 3 years ago, 1%, 1.1%. The Wall Street Journal has just come out with 2 polls that confirm 2024 Libertarian Party candidate 1%. For 30 years, I've been arguing that our greatest asset in this party are our genuine libertarian principles, and that they are our biggest vote getters. And I proved this 20 years ago in a race for U.S. Senate in Virginia, where this package of genuine principles garnered 7% of the statewide vote. Because you see, there's a block of voters out there that may not be members of the party that love this package of genuine principles and will vote for it, but will not vote for reform. I have no doubt that those voters are still out there, and that we could double that number given the advances we've made advancing libertarianism in the past 20 years. I say, let's give the American people something different that they're not expecting this time around. A campaign of pure principle for the party and principle. And let's do it with gusto.
Thank you, Jacob. Okay, now we're going to generate some heat. I want to put a fine point on what I'm requesting on the next round. We're going to start in alphabetical order by first name, and that means that Chase goes first. Others will get the same chance, but I'm going to focus on Chase for a moment, just as an example. Chase, I want you to tell the audience why and in what particular ways, even including naming names if you need to, why all of the other 5 candidates come short in relation to you as a candidate. Why are they inadequate in relation to you as a candidate? And then I'm going to ask each of those 5 to respond very specifically to your critique. Once again, I repeat, 2 minutes for you, Chase, to explain why and in what way the other 5 candidates come up short. Take it away, Chase.
Yeah, so I'm going to first say I don't think any of the other candidates on stage are going to deny when I say I'm the hardest working candidate out here, getting out and being in the most states. I've already visited 44 states this year, many like Florida that I've visited multiple times. I'm going to visit all 50 states by the time of our national convention, which is something no libertarian candidate for president has ever done. But the other metrics are really what we want to look at. Look at the successes. I just won the Iowa caucus this week, the Arizona Libertarian Party straw poll. I won that. We're looking to be competitive in all the states. We want to bring large delegations to our convention, hopefully win in the first round so we can get it done real quick. But when we look at the number of volunteers, when we look at the money raised, when we look at the miles gone and travel, the number of doors knocked, the fact that I've helped raise thousands of dollars for local libertarian candidates all over the country, this is kind of energy we need from a presidential candidate. I'm also somebody who is staying away from the internal infighting, which I think we're all sick of in this party. I've made a commitment to not endorse anyone for any internal offices or any platform or bylaw changes because I trust that the delegates can do that job while I'm doing the job of reaching outward. I believe I'm the candidate who's done the most events both within the Libertarian Party and also on the road doing individual events where I'm reaching outward to new voters, people who have just gotten interested. I have Democrats, Republicans, and independents calling me on the phone saying that they heard about my campaign, they saw the website, and they got interested. We are bringing new energy and new people into the party in a way that I think we need. And also, I'm a messenger who's under the age of 40. We need to have a millennial messenger because it's time that we have a real contrast to the old parties and the old candidates that are putting up. We have lived most of our lives in the 21st century when we have millennials, people who have fought through the war on terror, people who have had to go through the 2008 housing crisis, people who are raising families in this country right now. It's time for our generation to have a voice, and our generation can help give rise to the voice of Gen Z. They're going to be the largest voting bloc in 15 years, and we need a communicator who can reach out to those young people, give them the ideas, the principles of liberty, something attractive that they can come to so we can grow this party and have twice as many people, so we can run out this room the next time we have a presidential debate in 4 years and have twice as many participants. Because I'm committed to growing the party, keeping that number twice as many members, and growing it through the next 4 years. And that's how we're going to grow this party and succeed for the long term. And that's what I'm committed to.
All right. Okay. Jacob, to the extent that you took Chase's remarks as a denigration of your own candidacy, could you respond to what Jacob just said? Jacob Hornberger.
I was amused when I heard Chase talking about his win in the Iowa caucuses recently because 3 years ago I won the Iowa caucuses with 47% of the vote, and I went on to win 7 out of the 9 presidential primaries in this party. And I don't want to burst Chase's bubble, but I can assure you that winning these elections does not guarantee you the nomination of this party. And the other thing about Chase is that he gave us a valuable lesson in his race for U.S. Senate that he mentioned. He got more publicity than any Libertarian Party presidential candidate in history. I mean, ABC, Washington Post, New York Times, $20 or $30 million of free advertising. And he got his message out to the voters of Georgia. He was in the debates. You know, we often hear, if only we could get in the debates, Jacob. He got in the debate with Senator Raphael Warnock. He had half the time. He got his message out to every single voter of Georgia. They knew what his message was, which was a message of reform. Reform this, reform that, reform this, reform that. And at the end of that election, Chase Oliver got only 2% of the vote. 98% rejection rate from the voters. Because the voters are saying, we do not like this message coming out of this party. And that's what the Wall Street Journal poll is reflecting. A 99% rejection rate again. We need to change directions in this party. And we need to change directions away from reform and toward principle. And that's the big drawback I see from Chase's campaign.
Joshua, could you tell us, Joshua Smith, to the extent that you take Chase's remarks as a denigration of your candidacy, could you please take 2 minutes to respond?
Sure. First of all, I want to say that at 40 years old, I'm also a millennial. And I'm not just a millennial. I'm a millennial that actually fought the war on terror. I joined the military right after 9/11, like I said in my opening. Within 6 months, I was in Iraq. Going, why the hell are we in Iraq? And I became an anti-war activist. I found Ron Paul very shortly after that. And I busted my ass to try and fight back against the warfare state. Not only that, I'm actually raising a family. I have 7 children. And let's talk about the Iowa caucus. With 84 votes in total for the whole state, typically 500 votes. Of course, we had Arctic weather, over a foot of snow, and many people didn't show up to the Iowa caucus, unfortunately. Chase, I would expect Chase to be winning all kinds of polls, because he's been organized and campaigning for, what, a year? Over a year? Some of us entered the race 4 months ago. Some of us entered the race 3 months ago. And so, of course, Chase has the biggest portfolio of all the candidates when it comes to traveling the states and doing all this stuff. But over the last 6 years, I've been to 49 states. I've been to 100 state conventions. I've shook hands. I've gone to events. I've petitioned for ballot access. He's not the only one up here that's done the work. I promise you that many of us up here have done the work, and I appreciate what Chase is doing. I do. But he's not the only one that's been around the block. So, thanks.
Lars Mapstead, To the extent that you feel your candidacy is being denigrated by Chase's remarks, could you please respond? Take it away, Lars.
Yeah, and Chase is doing the hard work, absolutely. But we're all up here doing hard work. I'm going to also reach about 40 states before I'm done. I just worked 20 days straight in a row. But we don't need hard workers. We need people with experience. You can work really hard and get nowhere. We need people. I had a lot of people working for me. I had 600 employees, and a lot of them were harder working than I was. But I was running the show because I had the integrity and the ability to lead people to get them to do what I needed to do in order to push my company forward. I ran a company called Friend Finder Networks, which I grew to 600 employees doing $350 million a year in sales. So hard work doesn't necessarily pay off. And Chase, in the Iowa caucus, I went to the Iowa caucus. Chase had been there several times, and the feedback that I got from the people there was, we liked your message, but we hadn't seen you or heard from you before, and so we couldn't make up our mind. But we'd like to have you back so that we can listen to your message a little bit more so we can understand if we want to actually vote for you as a delegate. So I think that the Hornberger's point that there can be a lot of things that people win along the way, but at the end of the line, there was only 11 people out of the 80 people who voted in Iowa that are going to be delegates, so only 11 of them get to decide. And it's still early enough for us to win those delegates over and be the nominee for the party. I think that one of the big things that it separates me is that I'm self-funding my campaign. I've put $500,000 into my campaign at this point, and I know what it takes to win elections, and that's money, unfortunately. When we get out, we have a messaging problem in the Libertarian Party, and it's not because we're not principled enough, it's not because we don't have based enough messaging, it's that we don't get our message out. I'm still being called a libtard or a MAGA who smokes dope on social media, okay? So we're not getting the message out. People don't know what the Libertarian Party is. My candidacy is all about getting the message out. I've literally spent hundreds of millions of dollars on advertising in order to do that, and I'm the best candidate to get the message out. Thank you.
Thank you, Lars. Michael Rectenwald, could you please respond to Chase's remarks?
Well, I don't feel denigrated by his remarks, but I would say that I think that there's a little overemphasis on shoe leather work. I reach hundreds of thousands of people through podcasts and other appearances, through my work generally, and I've reached well beyond the inner circle of the Libertarian Party to include the broader libertarian movement, which is, if we're going to grow this party, we're going to have to grow it from this remnant of the libertarian movement. And I've been endorsed by more large names and important people in the libertarian movement, per se, than anybody here on stage. And I've been on Tucker Carlson twice. I've been on numerous podcasts. I've been on national TV many times. This is not paid advertising. This is free exposure. So I don't think that it's that it's true that you can only reach people vis-a-vis knocking on doors, although I have done plenty of that as well. But I just want to say that, also one element I would add in there is that it isn't a disadvantage to be over 60. That is actually gives me a knowledge base from which I can work. And I have plenty of energy. Nothing is holding me back. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.
You're younger than Joe Biden, I see. Mike Tremat, could you respond to Chase's attack?
I don't feel like Chase attacks me. Indeed, none of us have been denigrated.
I was just being facetious. Go ahead. Yes.
I appreciate that, but I do want everyone to know that Chase doesn't mean to go after any of us. Indeed, his mother and I are very proud of Chase. I think that he has done a tremendous amount of good for the party, and we're very proud of his hard work. Look, the point of this campaign is to set us up for the general election, which is coming the 1st of June, right after Memorial Day. And here's the idea, and I think we all are on the same page about what it is that we need to do to take advantage of this opportunity in front of us as a party. We need to run a completely differentiated campaign. You all know that I'm running on what we call the Gold New Deal. It is a collection of the most transformational ideas in libertarian thought. To a lot of us in the room, by now, it feels like a little bit of bread and butter. But the truth of the matter is it's going to blow a lot of hair back once the general election comes. and this is the point. When the general election comes and we're presenting these ideas to people outside of our party, we're going to have to do so with a tremendous amount of credibility and professionalism. If your party, if your plank, if your platform were based on, to pick an example, I don't like inflation, I think it's naughty, you wouldn't need a great deal of credibility and background and history and resume to back that up. But when you go out there and you say, we need fundamental change, we need institutional level change in this country, we need to end the Federal Reserve System, you better be able to back that up. I was a professional economist for 25 years. I've taught at universities numbering 3 in total. I've worked for the White House as an economist and other government agencies. I've worked for the World Bank and other international agencies. I've run my own business, educating financial services executives at the highest levels. I have campaigned inside of Washington for a decade for free markets and increased competition. If you're basing this campaign on credibility, you've got a campaign to look for.
Okay, thank you. Again, I want to remind the candidates on stage that the audience faces a choice among the 6 of you. The audience has to choose one from among you and wants to understand the pros and cons that each of you bring to your candidacy. With that in mind, I want another round of this, and I'm now going to ask Jacob Hornberger to devote 2 minutes to tell us why he's a better candidate than the other 5. Take it away, Jacob.
All right, I'm going to generate heat, as the debate moderator invited us to do in the instructions, by focusing on Chase's campaign. But the points I make apply to all 5 of my honorable opponents here.
Thank you.
And Chase, the big drawback that I see in your campaign is that your message is one of reform rather than freedom. And in your debate with Senator Warnock, you called for the reform of the FDA, but not for its abolition. You call for you oppose the expansion of Medicare and Medicaid, but you don't call for the repeal of these socialist programs. You now have a plan that's going to continue Social Security, which is the crown jewel of American socialism, for the next 25 years. You have a plan to streamline the immigration system, and you beseech immigration officials to let in more immigrants. But you want to keep the basic system intact and the police state that enforces it. You favor school vouchers as a way to reform and improve the state's public school system. And you favor a 50% reduction in the Pentagon rather than a total dismantling of the national security state, which is a cancer on the body politic.
Jacob, can I give you 30 more seconds to also say to what extent do those critiques apply to the other 4?
All of them apply, because they all favor this system of reform of the welfare warfare state rather than a dismantling of it. And reform is not freedom. That's what we've got to remember in this party. Reform is not freedom. To achieve freedom, you've got to dismantle infringements on freedom, and you've got to make that case for freedom to the American people. Because reform is not freedom any more than reform of slavery would have been freedom for slaves. In order to achieve freedom, you got to dismantle those infringements, not reform them.
Thank you, Jacob. I hope all 5 of you take that personally. The first person to respond on my list will be Chase. 2 minutes. Take it away, Chase.
Yeah, so considering that was pretty much all about me, let's just put apples to apples, our 2 races, sir. I ran for the United States Senate, the most expensive Senate race in U.S. history, earned 2% of the vote, got a runoff that earned national news and attention for the Libertarian Party because I was a Libertarian running against a Republican and a Democrat. You earned 6% of the vote in your race 20 years ago in a Senate race that had a Republican and a LaRouche, didn't even have a Democrat, and you lost to the LaRouche. So when you talk about competitive Senate races and actually earning the vote, I earned votes in a competitive race, running as a Libertarian, by the way. You ran as an independent in that race. I ran representing our party and our brand and our principles, and I'm proud to do that. And so I'm happy about that race. I heard people from all over the country calling me when I caused that runoff saying, wow, I can't believe there's a libertarian on my television. This is the first time I've ever seen a libertarian covered by CNN. I earned media from Vice, from Rolling Stone, from Fox News, from all of the major news agencies because of that race. I am proud of that race because I ran a race in principle. I ran a race on dismantling the police state. I ran a race on dismantling the warfare state. I ran a race on freeing up immigrants and stopping to throwing them in cages. I was proud to be a contrast to the Democrat in that race and the Republican who was too cowardly to even show up and debate me. So I was happy to represent our brand, and I am so proud of that race. And when you try to bring it up as something that's bad, all I can say is watch the debate, ladies and gentlemen. Go on YouTube and watch the debate, and watch me wipe the floor with a Democrat. Watch me challenge a Democrat to say that he can't even read the bills that he votes on because he just takes Chuck Schumer's word for it. That's the kind of energy and enthusiasm we need. Watch my debate, and you will see that there is nothing to be ashamed of. I'm proud of that race that I ran, and I will run that race again as your candidate for president with undying energy, with the ability to get out there and fight every single day for the rights of all people to live free from government violence and free to live as themselves in peace. And that is the race I was proud to run, and I will run that race again 100 times over, and I will do it in all 50 states. Thank you.
Joshua, could you explain to us, to the extent that you take Jacob's comments personally?
Yeah, it's going to be really short. I just think it's hilarious that Jacob would throw those accusations at me when I'm the guy who wants to level the ATF headquarters and build a dog park. Seriously, I'm the only one. I'm the only one up here that's talked about these things. The alphabet agencies are absolutely disgusting. They've infringed on every single right that we have every single day, and I want them abolished. I'm not, listen, anarchy's cool. I get it. I know that we can't go up there and be like, abolish everything, abolish all of it. But I do understand that these alphabet agencies have hurt us. I talk about Social Security just as much as Jacob does. I talk about the IRS, I talk about the FBI, I talk about the CIA. These people have hurt our lives. They hurt every single day Americans. The middle class is disappearing. The Federal Reserve is destroying your life. And for Jacob to say that I'm the guy, well, Chase is the guy. But I'm also the guy that doesn't want to dismantle the state is absolutely asinine. Thank you.
Lars, to the extent that you take Jacob's attack as applicable to your candidacy, could you respond?
So one of the things that I find in libertarian thinking is there's a lot of principle-based messaging. We like to talk about principled and based messaging. And for me, I call this the North Star, right? We all want to say abolish the IRS. We all want to abolish the Federal Reserve. We all want to abolish the ATF. There's all these alphabet agencies we want to abolish. We all want to reduce the state. That's the guiding principle of libertarians, is everybody in this room wants to reduce the state. Some of us want to reduce it to like 6 employees, and the rest of us want to reduce it to 0 employees, right? But we all want to end the state. So the argument that is going on here, this reform North Star argument, is very simple. Everyone up here agrees that we all want to get to the North Star. But some of us think we can teleport to the North Star, and other people think we have to work to get to the North Star. That there is a giant system of Congress, of senators and congressmen. How many people here have read the End the Fed book by Ron Paul? Okay, a lot of you. In that book, he says, half the room. In that book, he says it is very unlikely that we will end the Fed. And that's in the book that says end the Fed, okay? And the reason is because he understands that there is a North Star of ending the Fed, and then there's a path to getting there. But we can audit it, we can vastly reduce it, we can get it out of our lives as much as possible. Everyone on this stage wants to reduce government in your life to the least amount possible. And so I don't think that this reform principled stance means anything at all. And to be more important, it doesn't really matter whether it's a reform message or it's a principled North Star message. If we don't get the message to the people, it just doesn't matter what the message is. If you're yelling into an empty forest, no one's listening. It doesn't matter how based your message is, right? And we have a messaging problem in the Libertarian Party, and we have to get our message out. I had over 25 million fans on Facebook, and I'm the best to get the message.
Thank you. Michael Rectenwald, could you respond to Jacob's heated words?
Yeah, I mean, I find it ludicrous that I would be called a reformer by any stretch of the imagination. Unlike Jacob, I'm actually an anarcho-capitalist, not a minarchist. I obviously want to abolish all of these agencies, and I also want to abolish the state itself, and that's like a goal. Of course, it's a goal that we'll never reach, but it has to be maintained as a goal that we strive for. And I would just say this, everybody here is saying, offering political goals that will live and die with their campaigns, whereas I'm offering people to get involved in a movement of decentralization in which we wrest control from the central government and vest it in the people at the local level. This is not a campaign strictly, it is a movement of decentralization. And decentralization is the only hope we have for expanding liberty in people's lives. It isn't enough to gain votes, to get on the TV that says you have, won an electoral college vote here or there. We need to actually unify along a strategy and commit to that strategy. I'm running to represent that strategy. It is more than a one-off campaign, as exemplified by the major libertarians that have endorsed my campaign. Thank you.
Mike, could you respond to Jacob's comments?
Sure. I think everything that the fellows have said here has been absolutely terrific. I'm actually really glad that Jacob brought this up because it does give everyone an opportunity to point out why his comments are so wrong. And I think that's important because one of the big distinctions you see between the panelists before you today and what you were looking at 4 years ago is that nobody up here is a reformer in any real sense. Outside of these four walls, if anybody were to look inside here and see us, including you, including all you people, nobody would characterize us as reformers. I mean, let's just be candid. I do think it is worth mentioning there is a difference between a North Star strategy and how do we get there strategy. It is important for us to say what the North Star is. It's important for us to point out to people, for example, no, we're not talking about reforming the FBI, we're talking about getting rid of it. However, having said that, let me explain why it's going to be very easy for you to live your life without the FBI. You are not going to miss it, okay? You're not going to miss it. And by the way, let me explain why we need to get rid of the FBI. And by the way, let me explain how we're going to get rid of the FBI. It's important for people to hear this. Because a lot of people, when they first hear that you're going to get rid of the FBI, it's like, oh boy, that was one of my favorite TV shows. What do you mean you're going to get rid of the FBI? That doesn't sound like a good idea. So you got to explain it to them. It takes some time. It takes some credibility to earn their trust so that they hear your message. But it is important. You don't build credibility by telling people about, the quarter of the way you want to get there, the 2/3 of the way you want to get there. No, you build credibility by sharing how, why, and by the way, lean into your background of what you've done that suggests that you know how to get this done. That's how to build trust, and then give them the North Star.
Thank you. Next round, Joshua, could you lead off by telling us why the other candidates, in terms of their position or in any other way, are inferior to your candidacy?
Sure, I could spend all day doing this. I could talk about Chase. I could talk about Chase thinking that it's okay to give hormones to children. I could talk about Mike being a boring college professor that doesn't inspire. I could talk about Lars being a porn empire king. I could talk about Mike Trematt being a terrible Broward County cop. And I could talk about Jacob spending all of his time talking about Social Security, literally every second of the entire day. He's right. He's right. But instead, I want to take a couple minutes to talk, a minute and a half, to talk about Title 4D of the Social Security Act. This is the biggest problem that I think Americans face today. Listen, in 1975, Gerald Ford signed into law the Title 4D of the Social Security Act. And it incentivized states to separate families. Do you guys know that we were on par to be a society that retired at 55 years old with 3 cars and a house and a stay-at-home wife, and then all of a sudden we started separating our families. We went from 1 in 60 children living in a fatherless home to 1 in 4. And with that, the rise in violent criminal children, runaway and homeless youth, school dropouts. Our society has taken a nosedive because our federal government is incentivizing states to separate families in family law court, and we need a president that's going to talk about, none of these guys are going to do that. I'm the one presidential candidate today that's actually going to tell you what the fix is to our society today, and that is children living in single-parent homes that have no rules, they have no follow-through, they have nothing. They have nothing. They're spending their time between two households, and they're violent, they're angry, and they're getting in trouble. And that's what's the biggest problem today in American society, and that's got to be fixed. We need to abolish all of Social Security, Jake. Listen, but definitely Title 4D tomorrow. Thank you.
I think I heard Joshua say none of these candidates are going to do that. Remember those words, please. You five other guys. Chase, could you respond?
Yeah, we all want to eliminate Social Security, so obviously that's part of Social Security. It's going to go away. But I really want to talk about the fact that I am the candidate on stage that has the most practice of actually being a candidate, going out and meeting voters where they are, understanding their concerns, and relating their concerns and what they want to see through the Libertarian prism and bringing them to liberty. It's something that I have a great practice of doing. I've traveled all over the state of Georgia doing that. I've traveled all over the country doing that as a presidential candidate. And you mentioned being on the trail for only 3 months. I can guarantee you the first 3 months I was on the trail, I was busier than you've been the last 3 months. The last 3 months I've been busier than you the last 3 months. And so it doesn't matter how long you've been, it matters how long you can go. And I'm a marathon runner. I understand that this is a process. It's going to take a lot of energy and a lot of time. And I got started early because you have to invest yourself early to get started running. I started an exploratory committee in January and spent 3 months just examining the viability of running. That is a step that too many libertarians don't take. They don't understand the process. And so I went through the actual process of getting out there, meeting voters, understanding what they want to do, what their concerns are, and how best to broadly represent the party as our presidential nominee and grow our vote totals, grow our membership. And those are the metrics that I have in mind as the real victories. How many states can I help secure ballot access? How many states can I help secure major party status? How many states can I help elect libertarians? And can we double our membership and leave it lasting over the 4 years? And finally, I'm just going to say this. I support the right of people to have control over their own body, and when they are not the age of 18, I support their parents having that control. They can make the decisions, and I don't want to put the government into the doctor's office. If there's abuse or neglect, that's where it belongs. You can actually try people for abuse or neglect, but for the most cases, I'm going to support the right of parents who have unconditional love to be the best advocates for their kids with regards to education, healthcare decisions, and anything else. And one thing I'll remind you, if you can regulate the body of one person and give the government authority to do that, you can regulate the body and the medical decisions of anybody else. I refuse to give government that authority. That authority lies in parents. Those are the people that have unconditional love for their kids. Those are the people that are going to be their best advocate, barring abuse and neglect, which we already have laws to prevent. This is a bunch of fear-mongering over a few thousand kids, and I'm tired of it. We really need to be worrying about all the kids who are suffering. That's 550,000 kids in foster care and people who are far likelier to be abused than what you're mentioning, sir.
Thank you. Jacob, none of these other candidates are going to do that. Could you respond to those words from Chase? Take it away, Jacob.
From Josh, rather.
Josh.
From Josh, I apologize. From Josh. Sorry.
You all are witnessing the power of argumentation and debate. Because I can guarantee you, you're hearing a different tune here than you heard at the debate in South Carolina and the debates after that. We're talking about, for example, Social Security. When they all called for an off-ramp for a program that is a direct violation of the Libertarian non-aggression principle, and they're saying that they're not reformers, I challenge every one of them right now in this debate to support the immediate repeal of this socialist program along with Medicare. No off-ramp.
I support that, Jacob, and I have, even in South Carolina.
Josh. I challenge the rest of them. And the reason is because it shows a lack of faith of freedom. It's saying that people will die in the streets. That's what they said in South Carolina. People would die in the streets with freedom if you don't have a 25-year plan for ending socialism, which Chase favors. I don't want freedom in 25 years. I want freedom right now. And we look at public schooling. I challenge every one of them right now to call for the complete separation of school and state. No reform of public schooling. No getting better people in public office. No trying to take over the school boards like Michael Rechtenwald's campaign is trying to do. Get government entirely out of there in this debate right now. Let's talk about immigration. They say they're not reformers. Every single one of the people on this stage favors this immigration control system, which is a socialist system. and the police state that comes with it. I've lived under that police state. I lived on the border for almost half my life on the Rio Grande, and I've been victimized by that police state. You can't reform socialism. You got to dismantle it, and I challenge every one of them right now to come out publicly in favor of open borders right now. The free movements of goods, services, and people across borders, the abolition immediate of the Border Patrol, the Immigration Service, and all restrictions.
Certainly the next speaker is welcome to speak to any of the critical remarks that have been made. Next person is Lars. Take it away, Lars.
I mean, it's awesome that Mr. Hornberger is talking about all this stuff, but he doesn't have a plan to get Congress to do any of that. Congress is not doing any of that. It doesn't matter. What's more likely is in the next 10 years, Social Security goes bankrupt, and we don't have any money to pay the people anyway, and then Congress starts screwing the people over by raising the time period of what they have, by lowering the amount of things that they have, by taxing the hell out of it. Government is going to screw this up so bad. Of course we want to get rid of Social Security. Of course we don't want the workers of today paying for the people that are today, because right now, Social Security and Medicare, if we ended payroll taxes today, it would be completely broke in less than a year. Everybody believes that they put a whole bunch of money into Social Security and there's a giant pot of money for everybody waiting at the end of the rainbow. It's all been spent, folks. It's gone. Okay? And basically this is a Ponzi scheme. The workers who are working today are giving their money to the retirees of today. It's unfair for the workers of today. It's also unfair for the retirees of today because they put money in and they expect a certain return on their investment. Had the government not stolen their money and then piecemealed it out to the people, they could have invested that money and they would all have much better retirements than they have today. Once again, government has completely screwed the pooch. But you can't pull the rug on 30 million Americans and say, I'm sorry, you put in a bunch of money, but we're not having Social Security anymore. Go suck it, right? That doesn't work, right? And that doesn't get you electoral, that doesn't get you votes, okay? What we have to do is take care of the people, and we have to end the Social Security system for the working people so that they're not being coerced by government to have their money stolen from them anymore. It's a two-piece system. But more likely than not, what's going to happen is this whole thing is going to collapse in 10 years, and Jacob Hornberger doesn't have a plan to fix it because he doesn't have a plan to work with Congress to fix the damn thing. It's just going to blow up because no one wants to deal with it. They keep kicking the can down the road, and we all see it over and over again, and it's ridiculous. We're all fed up with it.
Michael Rectenwald, your 2-minute response.
Yes, I'd like to respond mostly to Jacob's comments that I somehow want to get the government into education. I believe in absolutely abolishing government education and the Department of Higher Education entirely, and to make all schools private. That is something that I recommend immediately. As to Social Security, let's just say that somebody has been paying Social Security for, say, 30, 35 years. Now, Jacob comes along and says, sorry, guy, we stole money off of you for 30, 35, 40 years straight. You're shit out of luck. How about giving me the money back, all of it, right now, with interest and accounting for inflation? That's more like it. Is it going to hurt the state? Absolutely. It will probably cause the abolition of several departments. Good. We should cause the crushing of the state. But you can't rob people twice. Once is enough. As for immigration, I think that Jacob is like Rip Van Winkle. He just woke up from a 20-year sleep, and he thinks that somehow unfettered and complete open borders is popular among the American people. 93% of the American people think that it's either a crisis, it's very serious, or serious. And what's the crisis? We're offering social welfare to people to come across the border. We're offering social welfare that's not only overt, but also hidden social welfare. Reliance on public services. What happens when somebody has to go to the hospital for emergency care? We have to pay for it. Of course we do, because we're a civil society. But we can't do it on that basis. We must have an invitation-only basis immigration system. This respects the public property, private property of the taxpayers who have paid in to the taxes that have paid for public property in the first place.
Thank you. Mike Chamat, your 2-minute response.
Thank you. I appreciate that. First of all, I really, I want everyone to appreciate what you've just heard tonight. You have to admit this is a great bunch of guys. I mean, you just heard Mike Rechtenwald say, never tell old people you're shit out of luck. That is damn good advice right there. And he is exactly right. Jacob is right. We all want to end Social Security, but the way you do that is you gotta pay people back, right? You put all your money into this system, you're going to get your money back, and then we're going to sunset Social Security. That's what we mean by an off-ramp. I know big language and just a little confusing sometimes. What we're talking about is paying people out and getting rid of Social Security. That's all we're talking about. And by the way, I also want to call attention to something else you just heard. Lars, I think this is one of the greatest statements in all American political history. Never tell voters to go suck it. I think that was that's really good advice. You are absolutely spot on. This idea of just ending Social Security all of a sudden and not paying people out, I don't find that libertarian. That's not principled. I find that damned unethical and slightly stupid, to be honest. That is not a political plan. It's just a plan to differentiate you from people who actually know what they're doing. So, no, we're not going to end Social Security and tell everyone to go suck it or you're shit out of luck, Grandma. What this is about is paying people out, giving them an off-ramp, and ending Social Security. The other thing was education. Yes, we need to separate the state out of education. I don't think anyone in this room disagrees with that. That's not really a big statement. The difference is that some of us know how to do that. Okay, which is you can't just end state involvement in education tomorrow because then the kids have no place to go to school. Because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the government owns 90% of the schools in the United States. 90%. Okay, so if you cut that off tomorrow, we're going to have a problem. So the idea is to transition to a privatization.
Thank you. Next round, Lars, could you please tell me where the other 5 candidates fall short in relation to your candidacy? Take it away, Lars.
So I went to Maine because I wanted to get an electoral vote in Maine. One of my plans is to do something completely different than the rest of the candidates up here. Everybody up here wants to run a general election like what has been run before, with the message that they have. And what's going to be the outcome? We're going to get 1 to 3% of the vote. Maybe less this time because RFK is sucking the wind out of the air. He is getting the protest vote and he's sucking all the money out of the Libertarians' pockets, essentially. So there's going to be a lack of funds going on. And I am self-funding my campaign. I am going to bring the funds necessary to run this campaign in the general election. That is one of the things I'm doing. But winning this electoral vote is doing something completely different. I want to give libertarians a win that we haven't had before. Imagine on election night, they're going across the board, and California is blue, and Texas is red, and Florida is red, and New York is blue, and what in the hell is this gold crap on the map up here, right? The talking heads are they're not even going to be able to figure it out, and they're going to have to explain what gold is, and they're going to be talking about libertarians. And then people are going to be Googling what the hell is a libertarian and why did they screw up the election. Now imagine this. Imagine if we win enough electoral votes that we deny both Trump and Biden the presidency of the United States. And that sends it under the Constitution to the House of Representatives. It's called a contingent election. That's what I'm aiming for. I'm aiming for chaos on election night. I'm aiming to send this election to the House of Representatives. Just like they picked the Speaker of the House, I want them to pick the damn President of the United States. It'll be completely chaos, and everyone will know what the hell a libertarian is. They won't say that we're libtards, and they won't say we're MAGAs that smoke pot. They'll be like, those guys can win, and that gives all of our down-ballot candidates the success that they need to run to win elections. It drives members to the party. It drives donations to the party. This is what grows the party. We have to do something completely different in this election, or we're just going to get 1 to 3% again, just like Jacob has been talking about. We have to have a different plan. I can do that with the money that I have.
Chase, could you respond to Lars' remarks?
Yeah, I respect Lars a lot. I do find the idea that we're going to solely focus on one state to be kind of dissatisfying to the other 49 states who want their candidate to be spending as much time as possible there. So I do see where there might be a disconnect from some voters in the other 49 states. Even if we do manage to win an electoral vote in Maine, which it would be a hard thing to do, and I understand, and if we get it done, we just have to be realistic about what's going to happen. In the House, the way they pick the president when it goes to the House is each state gets 1 delegate vote, so you need 26 votes. Over over half the states are Republican held, they will win on the first vote. Donald Trump will be re-elected, or he will be elected president. The Senate might get a little weird because Democrats control that and they get to decide the vice president, and maybe they want to foist Kamala Harris on Donald Trump, who knows? But that might be what happens. But I agree, your strategy, I understand your passion for it. I just don't think the other 49 state Libertarian parties who are wanting ballot access, they're wanting major party status, and they have local Libertarians running, they want to see us spreading ourselves across the entire 50 states and maybe not focusing on one. And so I would have a difference of strategy there. I support getting out there as much as possible, identifying those winnable Libertarian races so we can go support them, knock on their doors, get them as much media attention as possible. But in the meantime, traveling all over the country to show the Libertarian Party truly is a national party. We have hundreds of thousands of registered members. We have millions of voters each election cycle. Let's act like it be a 50-state campaign. And that would be my only main criticism to that point there. But yeah, I would love to turn the election upside down. And we are beating right now Robert Kennedy, rather, not beating Ron Paul. Ron Paul's not running. Robert Kennedy in the free and equal poll. So if you want to see someone on stage with Robert Kennedy and actually challenging them and showing the voters what the real alternative to the two-party system should be, and that's the Libertarian Party, not some sort of soft, wishy-washy Democrat who kind of has some good ideas here and really bad ideas over there, maybe in Israel, and all those other things. So let's just say, we fight for the Libertarian Party across all 50 states and have a candidate with the energy to do that. That would be my main difference of opinion with that strategy. As cool as it sounds, I just think that there's a difference there.
Jacob, could you respond to Lars's remarks?
Yeah, Lars is suggesting that the problem in this party is money. And that is not the problem. The problem is message. As you can see now in this debate, that there is contrary to what they were suggesting that we're all on the same page, we are not on the same page. When you're advocating the continuation of a socialist program, even for a day, you are violating the core principle of this party, of this philosophy, and the written pledge that all of us take when we join this party, not to initiate force. When you advocate school vouchers, you're advocating the initiation of force, because you're talking about taxation taken from one group of people and given it to another group of people. But more important, this is where the soul searching of every member of this party takes place. It shows a lack of faith in freedom. And this is where we can go to Black heritage for examples here. When Lee surrenders to Grant at Appomattox, slavery comes to an end. There is no Social Security, no Medicare, no Medicaid, no government assistance. You didn't see Black seniors dying in the streets or Blacks with cancer dying in the streets, because people came together to help each other voluntarily, black and white. And if they could end slavery suddenly, we can end socialism serfdom suddenly. I'm not interested in freedom 25 years from now at my age. I want freedom now. And we can achieve that freedom without worrying that freedom's going to produce bad results. Because when you run a presidential candidate that doesn't have faith in freedom, that says we have to have freedom 25 years from now because freedom will mean people dying in the streets or people will be uneducated if you abolish public schools today, then you're going to have a political campaign that's going to get your standard 1%, because there is no constituency for that kind of message. There is in the Republican Party, no question. But in this party, the constituency for that is 1% or less.
Joshua, could you respond to Lars's remarks?
Sure, thank you. Listen, the electoral vote thing is so cool. I think it's great. It's been done before, by the way. John Hospers and Tony Nathan, the first presidential and vice presidential candidate of this party, got an electoral vote, a conscientious objector. Yeah. And that's great. I think that's great. I think it's beautiful. I think that is something that we should strive for. But the fact of the matter is that no one on this table or that table over there has been in national leadership for this party and understands that we spend millions of dollars fighting for ballot access around the country. And I know Florida's got it decent right now, but Illinois doesn't, and Alabama doesn't, and Maine had to fight for ballot access. And we have states all over the country that are fighting for ballot access. And sometimes it simply just takes the presidential candidate getting a couple of % in their state. Not just Maine, several states around the whole country. And come 2024, November, if we lose that ballot access in a ton of states, 2028 is going to be a whole nother rebuilding year. This is your money, not his money, your money that you're spending in the national political party today to make sure that your candidates win. Do you want them to win? Do you want them to be on the ballot? Do you want an L next to their name? Because that's what this party has been about for years, fighting the ballot access scheme. The Republicans and the Democrats keeping the L away from the ballot. Yes, it would be very cool to get an electoral vote. Totally awesome. I love it. But it doesn't keep us ballot access in like 17 states. And it's not time to lose that. So, thanks.
Michael Rechtenwald, could you respond to those remarks?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that Lars is the first one to bring up the RFK Jr. Situation and phenomenon, because this is the biggest independent candidate that's run for this office since Ross Perot. And during that election cycle, we had Andre Moret running for the Libertarian Party presidential candidacy. And he received 0.28% of the vote. And that is after having been a House rep in Alaska and having had the support of the party, of course, but also he was Ron Paul's vice presidential candidate in 1988. And yet he still only received 0.28% of the vote. And then we had Harry Brown in 1996 and 2000, probably the best candidate to have run for office, period. And he got less than 1% of the vote. So what's my point? My point is that if we keep chasing vote totals, we're going to get nowhere. We're talking about goals that aren't achievable. What we need to worry about instead is a longer time horizon. And that is building the party at the local level and taking control of power at the local level, vesting it in the people there, and wresting it away from the federal government. Anything short of that is not going to grow the power of the party or expand liberty. It'll simply put us in the national race where we have the same kind of fate every time, and we're not building a long-term strategy for the party.
Mike, could you respond to Lars's remarks?
Sure, appreciate that. Lars's strategy is really interesting, but it's really based on a proposition that everyone in the room is bad at math. There is not really a path to disrupting the way that American politics works by focusing on a small number of states. And by the way, Joshua is right that if you neglect these states in which we're fighting so hard for ballot access, you're going to upend a lot of the efforts that this party has been putting in the last few years. So I'm not a big fan of the strategy. Even if you thought, as I do not, by the way, that you would be able to flip a single state by focusing on it, you would not be able to throw the presidential election into as much chaos, unfortunately, because I really love the idea of throwing the presidential election into chaos, as you might think. The way to disrupt American politics, and make no mistake, that is our objective. The objective here is not to get 2 or 3%. I'm not suggesting that I have a particular number in mind either. But the objective is to disrupt the way the duopoly has been able to completely disregard our party, our values, our principles, our candidates, our platforms. The objective is to change all of that. The only way to change all of that is to come out fighting and fighting hard. Spending a lot of money, spending it loud and hard in a differentiated fashion, by the way, in June and July, not in September and October. That means a national campaign. You have to be in it to win it, to be taken seriously. You have to run with a lot of professionalism and a lot of credibility, but with a completely differentiated platform and a completely differentiated campaign. The idea that we cannot compete is wrong. It is empirically incorrect, and it's a bad, bad losing strategy.
Okay, next round. Michael Rechtenwald, could you please tell us how the other candidacies fall short in relation to your candidacy?
I'm not going to poke at anyone individually in particular. What I'm asking is, since it's so integral that the nominee be able to reach out and grasp the larger liberty movement, how do these other candidates expect to do this when I'm the one getting all the major endorsements from this wider liberty movement? This is the remnant that is otherwise not being reached. the audience that is ready to hear our message and the broader liberty movement. And I should add this. We see right now a major breakthrough for libertarianism happening. I don't know how many of you may have seen Javier Milei's talk at the World Economic Forum. How many? Great. I mean, this was an epic breakthrough. To go before this body of meddlers and statists and globalists and to poke them right in the eye with the message of libertarianism was a huge breakthrough. This is the kind of messaging we need. We need to do this on a broader basis, just like Milei is doing. And I've been able to reach those kinds of people outside of the Libertarian Party circles. And that's why I think that I'm the best candidate to represent this party. I have the broadest reach. I don't need to pay for it. I get it by virtue of the fact of having a reputation as a writer, as a speaker, and as a public presenter. So that's what I'm asking for. I'm asking you to look to the broader movement and to draw in and make more libertarians on the ground. That's what we need to do. We can't rely on the party faithful alone. We must expand our ranks.
Thank you. Chase, 2 minutes to respond.
Dr. Rectenwald, you're right. Milei's message worked, but it wasn't just the message, it was also the messenger. We need to have somebody with energy and enthusiasm like Javier Milei was for the Argentinian people. And I will posit that I have a lot of that energy and enthusiasm out here ready to run. I'm ready to engage the broader liberty movement too. How are we going to engage voters? I don't know. I spoke to 60 students at a college that had never heard of a libertarian before, and they came out to hear my message. I've been doing events all over the country that go outside of the Libertarian Party, that bring new people in so that we can grow our party, so that we can actually grow our prominence. And so I find it crazy that you think that we're going to be the only people, you're the only person who can break out. Millions of people are going to hear from us once we have a nominee. We have a golden chance, but we have to have a good messenger. Someone with energy, enthusiasm, somebody who has the drive to get it done. And I'll say this, I'm a dedicated member of this party. I want this party to grow. It's not just about the liberty movement, but it's about the Libertarian Party because this is the greatest political vehicle to make change in the electoral process, and we need to engage people into that process. And I'll be frank, you endorsed Donald Trump in 2016 and in 2020. After 2016, right, after 2016, and all the money spent, the border walls put up, the COVID state that he created, all these things, you still said in an article that Donald Trump, that Republicans were the safe port in the storm to have something to fight against the Democrats. I just cannot settle for Donald Trump. I cannot settle for the Republican Party. I never have, I never will. And if we're going to have a presidential candidate, I welcome you. You're welcome to the party. You've been in the party for about 4 months. But if after 4 months I said I'm going to be our presidential candidate, I would have been rightly laughed out of the room because we need to have people who know they're dedicated, because we've had candidates who've come in and they left. Their names were Bob Barr. Their names were Bill Weldon. There are so many libertarians who came to be our nominee from the Republican Party. They take advantage of our ballot access line. They say they're going to start a movement, and then as soon as the thing's done, they leave the party and you never hear from them again. I'm here for the long haul, and I want to say I've been here for the long haul. And I welcome you to run for president after you've been in the party for a few years. But until then, you need to have a libertarian, a long-term libertarian running for president. And that's what I'm here to do.
Hey, let me just answer that. Because I think
Michael, excuse me. You will have another 2 minutes of say when your turn comes. Jacob Hornberger, could you please respond?
Well, I think we need to listen to the voters at some point. When the voters are repeatedly giving us 1%, it's presumptuous to say that they don't know our message. We've been running the same message for 20, 25 years in this party. And the result is the same. We keep doing the same thing over and over again. And we say they just don't know our message. But Chase got his message out to every voter in Georgia, and 98% of them said no. And Mike here ran for Congress 1 year ago with this same message. He got less than 1%. He was in the debates. We got the Wall Street Journal polls saying 1% for 2024. We need to do some soul searching in this party. That maybe the voters have a point here. Maybe they're sending us a message. Like a consumer gives a message to a seller that says, we don't like the message you're putting out. And you know, I got a confession to make to every single person in this room. A personal confession. I'm with the 99%. I reject this message as much as they do. And I'm telling you, there's a group of people out there, and they're probably mostly in the 50% who don't vote. Now you may say that's counterintuitive. If they don't vote, Jacob, how are they going to vote for you? Because if they see a campaign based on genuine libertarian principles, I'm telling you, there's a block of voters out there that will vote for that message, that will take the time to go to the polls, but who will never vote for a reformer because they want the system dismantled. They think it's crooked, it's corrupt. That's why they don't go to the polls to vote. And that's the soul searching that I'm asking everybody in this party to do. This is more than a campaign for me. It's a cause for me. That's why back there on our back table, we have folders, not buttons, because we want people to think about where we are as a party, where you are, what you want out of life.
Joshua, 2 minutes to respond.
I just want to preface this by saying I like my friend Mike Rectenwald. I think he's great. I do want to say that we're doing 5 million impressions a week in social media right now. We are by far the most visible campaign in the entire United States right now as far as the entirety goes. I'm also the only candidate up here that's ever organized delegates to a national convention. And that's the hardest part of this, right? Like, that's the thing, is like, we have to show up to the national convention with delegates and say, this is why we're the best people, we're the best person to put forward in the debates, if we should ever make it into the debates. So I think Mike's new here. He's just gotten involved. I think he's been lied to a couple times by a figure in this party that told him it's going to be easy. He's going to walk in. He's going to take this. He's going to be in the general. It's going to be very easy. It's not. There's a lot of good candidates up here. There's people that have worked their ass off in this party, like Chase, and I fundamentally disagree with Chase on a lot of things, but he's been working his ass off for over a year. I've been here for 6 years. I've been traveling the country, 49 states. I've reached out way beyond our echo chamber, way beyond. I'll be on Timcast for the 3rd time on February 5th. One of the biggest alternative media outlets in the entire country. Jacob Hornberger's run for candidacy several times. He's run for vice president, president. Mike Termau is traveled the country for the last year. So I think that I like Rectenwald. I think he's a great guy. He's got his principles intact, but when it comes to talking about who's going to reach outside of the bubble, there's several people up here that can do better. Thank you.
Lars, 2 minutes to respond.
Thank you. Earlier, some of these candidates said that I wasn't interested in ballot access and that I didn't think it was important. Well, let me tell you something. Earlier, the chair said in her speech that there was a donor in the room that got Maine ballot access over the line. Guess who that donor was? I went to Maine. Thank you. I went to Maine and I found out that they didn't have ballot access, and I'm trying to win an electoral vote there. So I said, holy crap, what do we got to do? And they said, well, they wiped all the libertarians off the voter rolls and deleted them. And they sued and they got them back, and then they lowered the amount, but they still were short because they needed 5,000 registered libertarian voters. So Chase and I flew to Maine, and we were on the ground trying to register libertarian voters. It's really hard to register libertarian voters on the ground. So what I quickly realized was we needed professional help. And the only way to get professional help is to buy it. Okay, and so I put $25,000 of my own money, and then I got together with my team, and we got a whole bunch of other donors to put money together, and we put over $40,000 together, and we squeaked by, and we got major party status for Maine ballot access. So, thank you. So to say that I don't care about ballot access is just completely false. And the second claim was that I'm not going to be supporting states because I'm all going to be focused on Maine. Right now, I'm not waiting for the general election. Right now, how many people have seen ads from me on social media? Okay, a good, maybe a quarter of you. I'm running ads.
You spent $500,000 on them.
That's right. I'm spending money right now. Not waiting for the general election. I'm getting the message out right now to the regular people. And that's what this party needs. We can't wait around. And when we get to the general election, everybody raises $100,000 and thinks that that's going to get us the message out that we need. No, it's not. The $500,000 I put in is weak sauce. We need $5 million, $10 million to get our message out. We're playing at the goddamn kids' table, and we need to step up to the game and win this election.
Okay. Mike, your 2 minutes to respond.
I appreciate that. By the way, what Lars accomplished and the others in Maine really is an important part of what it is that this party is trying to get done and has gotten done. So, boy, I would hate it if anyone in this room, anyone in this whole building, were to disparage the efforts that were made there. It's really a major accomplishment. Here's the point. Let me tell you a story about Gary Johnson in 2016. He reached double digits in the polls. He made a mistake on TV, answering a question stupidly. The reason the Gary Johnson campaign imploded in 2016 is not because he didn't reach enough people. It's not because he forgot the name of a town in Syria. It's because he had not given people a reason to hang on to him. What this campaign is about is not, gee, who's been on a great podcast? I appreciate this idea that it takes a lot of energy to impress people. Look, I did a video imitating the energy of Javier Milei. And by the way, I'm not going to let anyone steal Milei's thunder. I'm the Austrian economist here with an open line of communication to the Milei camp. So I'm not going to cede that ground to any of you guys. I did a video about Milei and got 1.5 million views. You know what that's worth? Bupkis. This is about, once we get to double digit in the polls, once we get people's attention, how are you going to hang on to that? The reason Gary's campaign imploded is because no one had any reason to hang on to him because he hadn't delivered a differentiated message. Contrast that with Donald Trump famously saying, I don't think I would lose much support if I were to shoot someone on Fifth Avenue. Let me go out on a limb and saying shooting someone on Fifth Avenue is worse than forgetting the name of a town in Syria. But I'm not sure that the Donald was wrong about this. We need to let people know why they are supporting us.
Thank you. And Mike, you can continue that because you are the final round of telling us why the other 5 candidates fall short in relation to your candidacy. So take it away, Mike.
I think you're the tallest one.
Yeah, I don't think anyone, I think Josh is the same height I am, as though that matters.
Okay. Mike, take it away. 2 minutes.
Well, I appreciate that. These guys don't fall short. They all have something to offer.
In relation to you, Mike.
They're terrific.
It's relative. It's all relative.
Relative to me, they're still terrific. Maybe they're not quite as terrific.
Why aren't they as
they're
terrific,
all,
Mike?
Terrific. I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're more terrific. Why is that?
Yeah, that's probably true. Look, our campaign, we have a tremendous team. We got 15 people on the team that we're paying. And it just occurred to me as of yesterday, we're up to 16. They're terrific people. We run a campaign with tremendous professionalism. And we work very hard, as you all know, we work very hard at maintaining our credibility and leaning into my personal background in public service and public policy. It's a major differentiating factor. The reason this is so important is because we are leveraging the most transformational platform that anyone has ever put forward in a presidential campaign representing the Libertarian Party. You can take that to the bank. As I said before, if you're running weak sauce, as Jacob would say, you don't need a lot of credibility. If you're running the kind of platform we are, you damn well better have it. Our campaign is coming out with a couple of what I think are really interesting announcements the past couple of weeks. One is we've got a book on Amazon. You can go check it out. It is called A Gold New Deal. It's a little bit self-serving because that's the name of our platform. But it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of great essays. And one of the essays in there is an interview with our new AI bot that we call Lisa, the Libertarian Intelligence System application. It is an AI bot trained to answer questions the way a libertarian would. It's in a beta phase, which means if you work really hard, you can still trick it into saying something stupid. But we train it every week. It's getting better by the hour. I encourage all of you to go check it out. It's a lot of fun, and we believe that in a matter of the next few weeks, it will truly become an important factor in spreading libertarianism beyond our party. Thanks a lot.
Chase, these are your final 2 minutes. Why are you more terrific than Mike?
Mike's a nice guy, but I would say my last 2 minutes here, I want to talk about the kind of campaign I'm running. It's a campaign based in hard work, and people say, anybody can be energetic, anybody can be hardworking. I've gotten to reach out and talk and touch with thousands of voters voters all over the country and hearing their concerns. I got to speak to parents who are worried about the fact that their kids' schools failed them during COVID, and they got to see how terrible the public school system is through the view screen of a Zoom window. I got to see people who are suffering at the border, whose families have been imprisoned because they just wanted to come here and work, and they're talking about the struggles it is to help them with amnesty court and these other issues that should not even exist. People should just be able to come to this country pretty freely, right? It's when I hear about veterans who are sick and tired of seeing the warfare state and the fact that we're considering sending more money overseas to bomb more and more brown kids in the Middle East or kill people all over the world. You know, these are the types of things that we need to fight for. And when I get out and I reach out to the voters, it doesn't matter whether they're Democrats or Republicans or Independents. Here's the main message that I reach out to touch them. If you're a parent in the room, please raise your hand. Each and every one of these parents in this room would fight and die for their kids because they have unconditional love for their kids. They would do anything for them. They're going to be their best advocate. So why do we take power out of your hands? Because you know how special and amazing your kids are. Why do we take power out of your hands and give it to the federal government bureaucrats in D.C. or the people in the State House here? Because they don't know your children. To them, your children are just the number on a spreadsheet and a formula for government funding. So take the power out of their hands and return it back to you, whether it's education, healthcare, or any other thing. You are going to be the best advocate for your children, and as an adult, you are going to be the best advocate for yourself. So let's take power out of those who seek to rob us, beat us, and torture us, and let's give it back to each and every American who knows best how to live their life and live in peace with one another. That's the message that I'm going to be putting forward. And if that doesn't sound different than the failed messages of Donald Trump and Joe Biden, I don't know what does. And I'm ready to be that messenger for the Libertarian Party. Please go to votechaseoliver.com and join the campaign right now. And please, please make sure that we have somebody that voters are going to feel good about voting for in 2024. And I want to be that candidate for you. Thank you.
Jacob, your final 2 minutes.
Yeah, I second what Mike says here. I mean, everybody in this stage is terrific, and we get into our arguments and debates, but we go every week into these debates, and we've become pretty good friends, believe it or not. And I have the utmost respect and admiration for all of them. But we go debate, but we got to keep something in mind here. This is not a debating society. We are a
It is tonight, Mike. Yeah.
We are a political party. And our job in this party is to lead America to freedom. Because every one of us has achieved this breakthrough. And in order to do that, we have to focus on votes. That's what we are. We're a political party. We want to get elected. We want to get votes. And what I'm saying is that the message that has characterized this party for 20 to 25 years cannot garner votes. And the voters are telling us that. The Wall Street Journal polls already tell us that the race is decided in 2024 insofar as our candidate is concerned. 1%. Now, when I ran for Senate 20 years ago, I focused on entirely different people. Chase is right. There was no Democrat in the race. But do you think any Democrat's going to vote for me calling for the abolition of Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, public schooling? Not a chance. No Republican was going to vote for me. I didn't care about that either. I got endorsed by one of the most prominent black ministers in the history of Virginia, John O. Peterson. He was elected to the African American Hall of Fame. I said, Pastor Peterson, this is what I stand for. This is what I want. He says, Mr. Hornberger, I'm endorsing you. I'm giving you a letter of endorsement. You take it to every black minister in this state and you tell them that. And that's what brought me my 7%. I have no doubts about it. 106,000 people. We got to look in a different direction in this party because 1% is not good enough for me. I want that 10 or 15% minimum.
Thank you. And again, I remind our panelists that the problem for the audience is the debate over which of the six of you they want to favor. In that spirit, I give it over to Joshua.
Yeah, I have nothing at all bad to say about the fantastic Mike Termott. In fact, should he not win the nomination, I would like you to make him my vice presidential candidate, if nobody else announces, of course. And vice versa. I love Mike Termott very much. He's a great guy.
I love you, bro.
Thank you.
I love you, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. He's great. He's dead on everything that he does. He has the experience. He's a smart guy. But I want to tell you this. I'm a blue-collar, working-class guy, father of 7, raising children in my home. And I've been beaten down by the family law system. I've been beaten down by the IRS. I've been beaten down by every system you can imagine that has something to say about local people. And I'm not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer. I know I'm kind of brash. I'm not as well-rounded as some of the other candidates up here, but I'm just sick and tired of the way that they attack the individual every single day. These three-letter agencies and the Department of Education and the local governments, and I want to run to pass a message to the people of America that we can fight them, we can push back, we can change things. So please go to joshuasmith2024.com, look at our platform. If you agree with it, please come to the National Convention in DC in May and give us a vote. Thank you so much.
Lars, your final 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. I told you earlier when I started that the system was rigged, and you know that that's true. We have to unrig the system. I talked to you about how the economy was rigged. I talked to you about how healthcare was rigged. I talked to you about how the criminal justice system is rigged. But I didn't get to tell you about the most important rigged system of all, and that is our election system. Right now, our elections are run by two private corporations, the DNC and the RNC. And as long as these private corporations continue to run our elections, we do not have a functioning republic. We have to restore our election system so that it has integrity and that people believe in it. Right now, people have lost faith in our election system. I have a huge policy team. Larry Sharp is on my policy team. Tyler Harris is on my policy team. Daniel Johnson is on my policy team. Michael White from Arkansas is on my policy team. And for the last 6 months, we have been putting policy together. You can see it on my website at lars24.com. One of the biggest pieces of policy that we have put together is the Voters' Bill of Rights. It levels the playing field for ballot access. It ends gerrymandering. It brings transparency and fairness back to our election system. We have to fix our election system. None of the stuff that we talked about here matters at all if we can't actually vote for the people that we want, if we can't actually get on the ballot. These are the most important things. I'm running a campaign that is about after I'm gone. I want to leave lasting things for the party that brings gifts to the party long after I'm gone. I want us to have equal ballot access across the board. I want us to end this stupid gerrymandering where they rig the system so that they get voted in 90% of the time, even though they have a 10% rating of people liking them. So we need to do this thing. Like I said, there's so much, I have over 30 pieces of policy on my website. There's way too much to talk about tonight. I urge you to go to lars24.com, check out all of my pieces of policy to unrig all of these systems that I talked about. It's very in-depth, and I want to put all of these things into action to unrig America and make it work for regular people again. And the final thought.
Thank you, Lars. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You went over your 2 minutes. Michael Rectenwald, your final 2 minutes, which will be the final 2 minutes of the evening. Take it away.
Sure, thank you. And it's very hard to say anything disparaging at all about Mike Termott. He's one of the finest gentlemen. Yeah, man. He's a fine gentleman, and I also want to thank everybody on the stage and all those people in the Libertarian Party. I suffered a personal loss of a family member this week, and so it's a trying time. And I will be, heading to that after this. I just want to thank everybody for their condolences and so forth. I just want to add that, listen, if we don't build a movement of decentralization on the local level, we will not have done anything in this election cycle. It is past time to keep throwing our chances to the wind and hoping for things to come down in a lottery ticket. We need to actually build the ground-up movement that is necessary to resist the power of the central globalized state that is crushing us. This is the only way around, the only way to do it. There's no going around it. There's no escape from this approach. Decentralization is the key. And that means building local power, getting officers in local office, getting control of the local guns. Recently in Pennsylvania, a farmer was basically destroyed by the state guard, by the federal, state troopers and the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture. If we had control of the local government, this would not happen. These are the kind of egregious breaches of liberty that we can prevent with local power. I'm the only one running on a sober campaign that is about building a movement rather than trying to just win an election in which we can't win. Let's be honest, we're not going to win it. Okay, let's be real. This is virtue signaling. We have to do something on the ground, or we have done nothing.
Thank you. And thank you to all 6 of our candidates.
Hey, will you, I'm going to get them to come down.